Week 14 in the NFL is here. Just Thursday Night Football just wrapping up. And Madden is on a 3-game correct winning streak and is improving its overall record to 8-6 thanks to the correctly picking Pittsburgh over the Giants last week. And this week, for the game of the week, got a good one, got a doozy. A rematch from week 1. A match that ended with poor clock management. It will be the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants, which I believe will be an interesting game. I mean, I feel like it might be just a little one-sided, but who knows? Maybe those New York Giants just have that little bit left in them to show that they're not done yet. And they can still make that run for the playoffs and maybe for an NFC East title. That might be pushing it a little bit, but we will see who men thinks will end up winning this game in a little bit. So, interesting little tidbit here. I do believe if the Cowboys do end up winning this game, the Cowboys are the first team to clinch a playoff spot. And if they do win this weekend, they will clinch the NFC East and not just win their 12th game in a row, but, you know, more or less they would have clinched a home playoff game. I also do believe they would have, I think they would need the Seattle Seahawks to lose and Detroit to lose to guarantee home field advantage throughout the playoffs if they win. But this will be an interesting game, and probably touch upon it just a little bit more. But we are 75% of the way through the NFL season. We have 4 games left, 4 weeks, and it's put up or shut up time for the teams making the push for the playoffs. I mean, the Cowboys, they're already in. They have nothing to worry about. But it's teams like the Giants. Let's see, who else? The Raiders, the Broncos, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Washington, Miami, even let's see, Tennessee and Indianapolis, who are trying to fight for conference divisional titles. So I mean, there are a handful of teams that are mathematically eliminated. Say, hey, the Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville, the New York Jets, San Francisco, Chicago. They are officially eliminated from the playoffs, and can't physically make it. Blah blah blah. But there's other teams out there, say, like I've said before, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Green Bay, Minnesota, Arizona, Tampa Bay, that are trying to fight for a playoff spot. And these last 4 weeks are going to be rough and tough because, first and foremost, you have to worry about your own schedule, but then you also got to get a little help from your friends. Or hopefully you think of them as your friends. But some friends are enemies and other enemies are friends. But whatever. Move on. I will say it was nice this past week. We saw some weather games, you could say, in New York and Green Bay, and funny incident happened in both those games. In the Chicago-San Francisco game being played in Chicago, there was I'm trying to remember. I think it was a punt return and the returner thought he had scored a touchdown. He stepped out of bounds, like at the 3 or whatever. But he scores a touchdown, and then he flops on the ground and does a snow angel. And a referee throws a flag for excessive celebration. While in Green Bay, Randall Cobb, as he dives for a touchdown catch, he does a snow angel, and the referees don't throw a flag at all. So you have 2 incidents where 2 different players did snow angels. One gets a flag and one doesn't. And that just brings up the controversial of excessive celebration. What is okay and what's not okay? Do these referees think it's okay and do these don't? And I say it's just a snow angel. Now, I will say if, say, you get half your teammates to get on the ground and all do snow angels at once, yes, maybe that's a little excessive celebration. And maybe a little going overboard. But one going, say, down, doing a snow angel for 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gets up and walks away or whatever, I have no issue with that. But we get into that fine line of what's okay and what's not okay. And, I mean, the NFL has no problem with spiking the ball. They have no problem with players jumping into the stands. The Lambeau leap, you could say. They don't like dunking over the goalposts, which I can go either way with that. I mean, I understand why they banned that, because I think it was Jimmy Graham who decided to bent the crap out of a goalpost, and it took the field crew to make sure it was level and get it back to even. But
they're getting him involved early.
You feel like they saw
I don't know.
on tape.
I mean,
it's sense with him because he's had a good week of practice or something in that area.
You've heard people say, the NFL is the no fun league, and people aren't having fun playing this and that. And I think the NFL should loosen up, lighten up. At least it's not as bad as college football, where you can't celebrate at all. You spike the ball, it seems like. And I do think the NFL should loosen up some. There are a few things I don't care for. Like, I will say there's sometimes, like Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, apparently, he gets caught up in the moment, and he just does whatever he wants. Like week 1, he catches the ball, gets a touchdown, sets the ball down, and twerks all over it. Like, I didn't really care for that. But I think it was last year where he returned a punt return for a touchdown and jumped on the goalpost. Yeah, it's a little excessive, but I mean, I had no issue with that. I mean, he's just trying to have fun, I get that. And I have a friend that says, when you score a touchdown, act like you've been there before and act like you'd be there again. So, I mean, it depends on what the situation is. Like, I got no problem. Like I keep saying and say again, spike the ball, jump in the stands. Like, I had, the Fun Bunch, the Washington Redskins of the late 80s, early 80s, early 90s, whatever, all do that big old group high five. I have no issue with that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's outlawed in the NFL now because you have group celebrations. But I mean, it's a team effort. It took the team to march down the field, either on offense or say a defensive takeaway or special teams. The team should be able to celebrate together, not just the one person, because if it wasn't for all the players and players and teammates that worked together and got those, like group high fives, the back bump, whatever you want to call it, chest bumps, So I will say, like I said before, I do think the NFL should loosen up a little bit, relax. Snow angels aren't going to hurt anybody. Throwing snowballs, maybe, yes. It's not like they're going to make snowballs start chucking at the other teams. That I wouldn't approve. I know there's been plenty of times when Brett Favre, when the Packers were playing snow, he'd make a snowball and chuck it at his teammate. But, you know, he was just trying to have fun on the field. And I will say there are some players that are lacking that ability, but yet it also comes on the NFL that won't let them. So when it comes to excessive celebrations, quote unquote, the NFL should lighten up a little bit. And I think I've heard this before, the commissioner should make a video of what is approved and what's not approved for touchdown celebrations. And I mean, that would be a funny video. So, other news in the NFL, it looks like good old RG3 is going to be back under center for the first time since week 1, and I don't know if it's going to be good or not for the 0-12 Cleveland Browns. Oh my goodness. The question becomes, how the heck did how do you lose 12 straight games? I mean, I understand the Buccaneers of what, 78 and or 76 and the Detroit Lions of 08. They could tell you how you can lose 12 straight. I'm sure there might be some other teams. I mean, the 49ers are almost there, but at least they won their one game, got it done out of the way. But RG3, who thought was going to get a renaissance in Cleveland, you know, week 1 scrambles, runs for a first down, and you know, leads with his shoulder and gets hurt. Finally, he's back. He's healthy. He can play now, and he's going to get the start, it sounds like, for Cleveland against Cincinnati. And the question becomes, how healthy and how effective will RG3 be? And I mean, the only good year RG3 has had was his rookie season. I mean, he was, what, the number 2 pick overall, or the second quarterback drafted in 2012. And it's sad to say that the most effective and best quarterback, or statistically and championship-wise, I don't know about statistically, but championship-wise, out of that draft class, out of the 5 major quarterbacks that were drafted, everyone keeps forgetting that Russell Wilson was a 3rd or 5th round draft pick, and he's also been a starter since day 1. He's lead these Seahawks to 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory, and just you know, thanks in all part, he's that medium. Some teams don't need a quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying Joe Montana wasn't great. I'm not saying Terry Bradshaw was great. But they had great. I mean, Bradshaw had a great defense. But I mean, obviously, he has to be more than just mediocre. But it was more of the other parts of the team that helped lead the Steelers to win four Super Bowls in the 70s. Same thing with the Niners. But I mean, you know, all Joe Montana do throw to Jerry Rice, and you know, the rest is history. So I mean, not taking any credibility away from Montana and Bradshaw, but I'm just saying, you're going to remember Russell Wilson. Not because of his arm strength, it's more of his legs and his ability to get the job done. And I'm in limbo with Russell Wilson. I mean, he did play 1 year with Wisconsin. led them to a Big Ten championship and a Rose Bowl appearance. But ever since he was on that Seattle team that screwed over the Packers in 2012, which were more of the referee's faults, not his. I've been wishy-washy with him. I want to see him. I felt pity for him. I wanted to see him succeed. Now he has, and now you hate the guy. But when the day is all said and done, do I really hate him? No. So we move on. Back to RG3. It'll be interesting. What if RG3 can muster out a win or two for these lonely Browns, prevent them being the second worst or third worst team in NFL history, or winless team to start a season. So it'll be interesting. Ooh.
He's got time. He's going to launch.
Whoa. Other news, apparently Adrian Peterson, he's getting healthier by the day, it sounds like. But some big question is no, excuse me.
That's often the difference in winning and losing. Those types of plays that can knock a defense off balance.
Some big questions are, will he return next year as a Viking? I'm not sure what his contract is with the team, but I mean the big question comes ever since week 2 when he hurt his knee. There's a possibility that he can make it back before the end of the season, but now that the Vikings' playoff hopes are in limbo, they are 6-6 and tied for second in the NFC North, and they are what are they? They are a game behind Tampa Bay for the last playoff spot. So, and stories are saying that Peterson will not return to the Vikings if they Peterson said he would not return if the Vikings are eliminated from the playoff race. He'll play it by ear, yeah. It makes sense for the 31-year-old running back to shut it down if Minnesota is eliminated from playoff contention. Well, yes, I would agree with that, and that's always a great debate. Someone injured early in the season. You are on a playoff contending team all year round. But what's the point? The big question comes, if you keep on winning, obviously you don't need that individual because you found ways to win without them. But can you do better with that individual and win by more or win solidly with that individual? That's always the question. And I mean, I understand what Peterson is saying there. If Vikings are eliminated from the playoffs, why come back? There's no point. Just take your time, get healthy, get ready for the 2017 season, and look on to the future. Move on. Now, if the Vikings do find a way to either win the North or sneak into the playoff contention, then yes, you want all your stars back. You want to make that push for the postseason, in the postseason, and try to win a Super Bowl title. That's everyone's dream. So it's the Vikings. They take on Jacksonville this weekend in Jacksonville. Then they host Indianapolis. They're at Green Bay, and then they host the Bears. So I mean, the Jacksonville game is about the only one that seems winnable for sure. But who knows? Because, I mean, the Colts, they're playing for a playoff spot. The Packers, they're playing for a playoff spot. And the Bears is a divisional rival, just like the Packers. And they could be playing spoiler. Jacksonville, they could be playing spoiler too, but you just don't know. And especially starting the season 5-0 in one of your next 7 games isn't good. So if I'm Adrian Peterson at the moment, I wouldn't rush anything to try and get healthy.
It's a lot of offense to run to only get 3 points, but they'll take them. Anytime you can put anything on the board, you run to your sideline somewhat happy.
Oh, what we got? We got all tied up in New York. 3-3 with about 3 minutes left. Ooh. Coincidence? I think not. Oh, let's see. What else do we got?
So we're right back where we started, all even as the kick's away. This will be fielded at the 6.
Oh, yes, those Cowboy fans.
And a nifty return there as he's all the way up.
Apparently a Cowboy fan was so excited.
We get a look now at the Giants.
He decided to get a
As
Super
we're gonna
Bowl
see right
51
here, they've been
champion
waiting some pretty
tattoo.
electrifying
And I mean,
moments in this one.
this guy's not the only one that has prematurely got tattoos of a sports team, or I'm sure girlfriend's name, lover, whatever else on their body to express that, hey, this is destiny, this is truth, this is meant to be. Now, I mean, if the Cowboys do run the table and never lose another game and win the Super Bowl, then yes, he looks like the smartest guy in the world. But in all reality, at the moment, he looks like the most dumbest guy in the world. And in all honesty, I don't think he's the only one that has a prematurely Cowboys tattoo that says Super Bowl champions. I'm sure there's someone out there with a Cowboys Super Bowl 42 champions. It's another one. Probably, maybe even a couple of years ago, Super Bowl 49 champions. It's like, we never said that Cowboy fans were the brightest.
One man in the backfield, Elliott.
Right. Oh, he's gone. Speaking of Cowboys, they just took a 9-3 lead, depending on the extra point. And oh my gosh, speaking of extra points, how crazy did the Kansas City Atlanta game end last week? I mean, how bizarre. And I mean, I'm so glad they brought back anyways, let me set this up. Okay. Last week, Atlanta's hosting Kansas City. And Kansas City, that was 2 weeks ago. They had a terrible loss against Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay is a pretty good team. Don't count them out. But anyways, Tampa Bay, Atlanta and Kansas City are playing. Early in the game, Kansas City's Eric Berry had a pick 6. Okay, but later on, the Atlanta, with Matty Ice and company, they march on the field and they get a touchdown and they go up 28-27 with I'm not sure how much time was left, to be honest, but they're up 28-27. They decide to say, hey, go for 2. Because if they went for 2, it'd be 30-27. They would have a 3-point lead in case of Kansas City gets in field goal range and wants to tie. They go for 2, and Eric Berry picks it off and goes the distance for a pick 2. And it's like, how do you like, Hollywood couldn't even draw that one up on how that ended. And we had an extra point. Hang on. Oh, excuse me. I mean, earlier in the year, Denver blocked an extra point, returned that back for 2 points against New Orleans, who looked like they were going to go up and take the lead. No. And now you had this pick 2 where you're down by 2. You're down by 1. Oops, you're down by 1, and all of a sudden you're up by 1. It's like, what just happened? Because you think, oh, there was a safety, but no. And like I saw when I was watching the Pack game, they were showing the highlight, and I didn't realize that was a pick too at the time. It's like, sheesh. But I mean, it's crazy now that, like I said, I love it that they brought back that if you either block a next point attempt, intercept a 2-point conversion, and you take it back to the house, you get 2 points yourself. And it would be I love that. But like, that was another thing. Back up just a little bit more. No, I think I talked about that last week a little bit. How in the Cowboys-Viking game, it looked like on a 4th and goal attempt, Sam Bradford gets hit in the head. Referees don't throw a roughing the passer penalty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I talked about that last week. But I mean, there were some good games last week, and for the first time, all year, Detroit was not trailing in the 4th quarter. Out of their first 11 games, they trailed in the 4th quarter and only lost 8 of those games. Not 8, lost 4. They lost 4 of those games and won the other 7. And this past weekend, they were winning in the 4th, and they hung on to win in the 4th and win their first game by leading in the 4th quarter. Maybe that's a trend. Maybe the Lions are for real. Don't know. It always seems like this time of year they know how to lose when they're winning. But I don't know. It seems like this year they know how to lose, but turn around to win, to come back to win. But I mean, some other action on Sunday. The Patriots, they handled the Rams easily. The Bears handled the Niners easily. Bengals handled the Eagles easily. But this was a shocker in my mind. There's a couple shockers. Baltimore just destroying Miami. And I thought I was on the Miami hype train as of late, and I don't think so anymore. I mean, last few weeks they've struggled to get the W, get some points, and so on and so forth. Now I'm kind of regressing a little bit and think, they're just not quite there. Maybe in a year or two they might be able to challenge the Patriots for first place in the East, but I think that still be a while. Another big shocker as of late. The Cardinals getting a win over the Redskins, and that hurt the Redskins' playoff hopes just a little bit. But one last thing. Well, the Colts, they also blew out the Jets, and the Jets finally made a quarterback switch and going to stick with the young guy, Petty. But Seahawks, Panthers, Seattle just blew out Carolina. And Seattle with a cost. Earl Thomas, he's out the rest of the season because of a broken leg. And little interesting news. Cam Newton benched for the first series for Carolina because of violating dress code. Apparently, he did not wear a tie. I mean, Cam Newton, in his mind, he has style. He knows what to wear. He likes to wear those, fancy suits and clothes and outfits and so on and so forth. And like, he looks a little dabber. But to me, they're a little flashy. But yet he likes to be unique, whatever. But apparently he forgot to wear a tie, and Coach Ron Rivera said, I don't care if you're the league MVP or the water boy, if you don't follow, rules and regulations, you're going to be all treated the same. Now I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I mean, there are rules for a reason, and I agree with that. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you violate those rules, you have to be punished. So, but it didn't last long because Derek Anderson threw an interception on the very first play for Carolina, and Cam Newton was out there on their next horrible drive. So.
Now Dak Prescott of the offense heading back onto the field. He's played a pretty clean.
Now, did that cost them the game? No.
Frankly, that's what they expect out of it.
No, that did not cost Carolina the game. They were already out of it before they started. But anyways,
He's got his team in a good spot.
Let's move on. Take a look at the standings in the NFL. See how everyone's doing. How great, how poorly. I mean, I ran down some playoff hopefuls and some draft pick hopefuls who would get the lucky #1 pick. But as usual, we start off in the AFC East, where the New England Patriots, as usual, sit on top of the East and looking down at the rest. And Miami. You had a chance if you ran the table. If New England slipped up just once, you had a shot. But now you are more or less likely to be done. New England would need Miami to lose, and if New England wins, it looks like I do believe they will win the East. But that's not certain. I don't know what the tiebreaker is there. They're both have one loss in the division, and they could still split the last game. So a playoff spot, I think, is there. Miami is 7-5, like I said. Buffalo, they are 6-6, and the Lonely Jets are 3-9. Oh, what's this? New England is on a 3-game win streak, while Miami and Buffalo are both have losses, and Jets are on a 4-game losing streak. And well, that 4-game losing streak might come to an end. There's a losing streak. Well, a losing streak is going to come to an end for one team, because the Jets take on the Niners this weekend, and either the game's either going to end in a win, a loss, or a tie. Greeny from Mike and Mike would love to see a tie more than a loss. But we move on to the AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders, they were playing tonight. That game has wrapped up. And we have a tie at the top of the AFC West. And it's Kansas City and Oakland are both 10-3. And Kansas City with the win tonight. Yes, Kansas City won tonight.
Taking me back to my childhood a bit.
There you go. You had a collection, didn't you? I did.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes. Kansas City did beat Oakland in a close game. Even knowing Kansas City turned the ball over 3 times, they still walked away as winners. So with the 2 winning both the games this year against Oakland, records tied. They have now the 2nd seed in the AFC, and just hoping they can maybe knock the Raiders out, but that's going to be a tough, a tall task to call or whatever. Whew. So they're both 10-3, but Kansas City, then Oakland. Following them is the defending AFC and Super Bowl champions, the Denver Broncos, at 8-4. And the San Diego Chargers rounding out the West at 5-7, and they got 4 games left. The San Diego Chargers and the AFC West could become the first division where all 4 teams finish the season with a non-losing record. It's going to be tough. I mean, they're at Carolina, and it's a noon game this week. They host Oakland. They're at Cleveland, and then they host Kansas City. And they almost beat Kansas City earlier in the year. I think that was the Week 1 matchup, and they were winning, and they blew it. Same thing with Oakland. I think they had a chance to win it, but they blew it. So, I mean, San Diego could run the table, win their last 4 games, and finish 9-7. I mean, Broncos are already 8-4. So, I mean, you would have 4 teams in the West with a non-losing record, which is plausible, but that just means a different conference will have a lot more losses. And I don't think I would have to. Oh, those are ties there. I don't know how that would work, but I think San Diego can at least beat Carolina and Cleveland. And those are both on the road in new games, so it's going to be tough for them since they're a West Coast team, but I think they can pull those off. It's the Raiders and Chiefs. Those are going to be the tough ones because divisional opponents, but they're at home, so, you know, not saying I like those odds, but they have the ability. They're probably going to finish 7-9, but maybe, just maybe, 8-8. Oh, plenty of time in the pocket. Oh, 3rd and 4, and you just throw it to the checkoff man that's standing right there. Wow, what an idiot. And that man has 2 Super Bowl rings? Please. Oh, AFC North. It's a 2-team race. Baltimore 7-5 and Pittsburgh at 7-5. Both are on winning streaks. But then you have the 4-7-1 Cincinnati Bengals, and what happened to them? I mean, yes, I can get to the 0-12 Browns, but what happened to the Bengals? And the question becomes, is this the end for Marvin Lewis? I mean, a man that's led the Bengals to 4 straight AFC playoff appearances, but yet has won none. And I think he's led him to 7 playoff appearances. And how many has he won? None. I mean, he's a good regular season coach, but when it comes to the postseason, they just can't get over that hump. I mean, they were my pick to win the AFC North to, I think, the _1 seed overall, but I still had them losing in the divisional round. But focusing on Pittsburgh and Baltimore just a little bit to see how the rest of their schedule looks like, because only one of these 2 teams is making it in the playoffs. I mean, a lot would have to happen with Denver and Oakland and Kansas City for one of those 3 teams to miss, because at the moment I'm pretty sure all 3 will make it. But I mean, Pittsburgh is only a game behind Denver, and Denver's in at the moment. So let's take a look at Baltimore's remaining schedule. They're at New England. Ooh, 3 of their last 4 games are on the road, starting at New England. That's not going to be an easy task for the Ravens. Then they're hosting. That should be a win, though. They're at Pittsburgh. I would have to give Pittsburgh the split there. And then they're at Cincinnati. And depending on what type of mood Cincinnati might be in, who gives a? But I mean, they could be the spoilers. So I mean, Baltimore could finish 8-8 by looking at their remaining schedule, while the Steelers, on the other hand, they're at Buffalo, and the Steelers on the road haven't been that good of a team. So Buffalo might be able to pull off the upset. Then they're at Cincinnati, same thing. What type of Cincinnati team is that going to be? Then they host Baltimore. Like I said, I think the Steelers are going to get that one, and the Steelers get the win over Cleveland in Week 17. So if they lose the next 2 and win the last 2, they would be 9-7 and in. And on Baltimore side, if I say they lose to New England, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati, that's 3 losses. They'd be 8-8, and so they would be out. It will be a interesting game, interesting stretch down the road. How that will end. Because only one, I'm going to say only one of those teams is going to walk away. And at the moment, you know what? If I had to pick a team right now, by the sound of it, I'm picking Pittsburgh. Excuse me. And it's going to, I think it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh to win on the road, because they've shown that they've had struggle on the road. But if DBs, Bell, Brown, and Ben can get in that rhythm. They just might be the hot team going into the playoffs.
Certainly didn't develop how they had hoped. Is that one they should have even tried, or is that one the quarterback sticks in his pocket?
Now we move on to the AFC South. This is Houston, Indianapolis, and Tennessee are all at 6-6. While my pick to win the South, and I think I had them. No, I didn't have them to win the South. I had them to be a wild card. Well, I'm far from that. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-10. They are the third worst team in the league, right behind Cleveland, San Francisco, and then themselves. But let's focus on the three teams that are fighting for one spot. Because, and let's be truthful and honest, between the Texans, the Colts, and the Titans, only one of those three teams will make the playoffs. At the moment, Houston has the tiebreaker between the three of them because they are 3-0 in the division. They still have 3 games to play within the division in the next 4 weeks. Indianapolis is 2-2, so they have 2 more. And Tennessee is 1-3, so they have 2 more as well on the next 4 weeks. Houston is -50 at net points. Indianapolis is 0. They have scored the same amount of points as they gave up. But Tennessee is 12, plus 12, and they're coming off their bye. Houston's remaining schedule, we know they play Indianapolis this weekend at Indy. Woo. They host Jacksonville, they host Cincinnati, and then they're at Tennessee. So 2 straight divisional games, a conference game, and another divisional game. While Indianapolis, we know they host Houston this weekend. They're at Minnesota, they're at Oakland, and they host Jacksonville. And that's right, Indianapolis played against Jacksonville in London and lost earlier this season. And then finally, Tennessee, their final 4 games. They host Denver. They're at Kansas City. They're at Jacksonville, and they're at Houston. And if Tennessee wants to make a push for the playoffs, right there, Denver and Kansas City, if you beat both of those teams, I'll say one or both, but I would say they need to beat both those teams, because if they beat Denver and Kansas City, they'll help a wild card spot. They would go from 6-6 to 8-6. Jacksonville, Tennessee, you should beat that one. That'd be 9-6. And Houston, you're hosting Houston. I think you take care of Houston. That's already 10-6 right there. If they run the table right there. So, if looking at Houston's schedule, they lose at Tennessee, but they beat Cincinnati and beat Jacksonville, they would be 8-7, and they lose to Indianapolis 8-8. Indy, on the other hand, they beat Houston. Okay. They beat Minnesota. That's their 8 and 6. 8-6. But lose to Oakland and win against Jacksonville. I mean, it'd be Tennessee. But all due respect and reality, I'm pretty sure Tennessee's going to lose both those games. You know what? No, I'd say they lose both those games. Tennessee loses both those games, so they go from 6-6 to 6-8, and win Jacksonville and lose to Houston. So that makes them 7-9. That's how I think is what's going to happen in all true reality. They will finish 7-9. So Houston beats Tennessee last game. I'm going to give at Indianapolis. I'm going to give that win to the Colts. So right there, Houston is 7-7, and they win the other two games, so that's 9-7. So that's 9-7. That's 7-9. The Colts, on the other hand, I said they beat Houston, so they're 9 or 7-6. I say they beat Minnesota. That's 8-6. They lose to Oakland. That's 9. 9-7, or I'm more or less saying they're going to finish 9-7. 9-7. I'm going to say the Colts are going to finish 9-7. Tennessee's finishing 7-9, and Houston. Win. I say they finish 9-7. So it comes down to they split their home games. That's what I'm implying. And then it comes down to divisional play, and Houston would be 5-1. Yeah, they'd be 5-1, and Indianapolis would be. They would have 2 divisional losses, and therefore Houston wins the South. So I'm sticking with that. That Houston wins the South.
And Gold is able to put it through.
So at the moment, I think Houston's going to win the South. I think Pittsburgh's going to win the North. AFC West, I'm going to stick with Kansas City. I think Kansas City's going to win. I didn't look at their schedules real quick, and New England wins the East. Looking at their remaining schedules. Let's look at Kansas City's and Oakland's remaining schedules. I mean, they both have played. They played each other tonight. Kansas City won. Kansas City has won the head-to-heads 2 times over now. And it was kind of a sloppy game, especially in the second half for Kansas City, but they hung on. They won the game. Oakland had plenty of opportunities, and they just didn't take advantage. Now, Oakland, we know they have 3 games left. They're at San Diego, they host Indianapolis, and they're at Denver. Woo. Kansas City, on the other hand, they host Tennessee next weekend. They host Denver, and then they're at San Diego. Yeah, I think I stick with Kansas City. Kansas City beats Tennessee, they beat Denver, and they beat San Diego 13-3. Or even if they lose to Denver, 12-4. Oakland, on their other hand, oh, jeez. It's going to be close. And it's sad that they don't play each other again. So it's going to be a fun playoff ride to see who wins what. But let's move over to the NFC side of the tables. We already know in the East the Dallas Cowboys 11-1. They already clinched a playoff spot, the first team to do so. Started the season 0-1. It just looked like the same old, poor clock management. You have 2 rookies, a quarterback and a running back, don't know what they're doing. Dak Prescott looks great, Ezekiel looks great, but, maybe they're just still too young to lead this team to a playoff appearance and might have to wait another year for that. That was only after week 1. Weeks 2 through 13, it's like, forget everything else. Tony Romo, you are a great backup. We will never have to see you again, except maybe taking a knee in the Super Bowl, just to be for shits and giggles. And we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to win that. We're going to win it, and blah 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 blah.
We remind you that coming up in 2 minutes.
But anyways, they are 11-1. The Giants, they're the only team that can claim the fame that says that they are better than the Cowboys because they beat them head-to-head. And they're going to play each other this weekend. And that, like I said, this is the game of the week. Close game so far, 10-6. Ooh. But they are in for Washington is still alive in the playoff hopes, but if the playoffs were today, they'd be out. They're 6-5. can't forget that one because ties are just as important. And the Philadelphia Eagles, what has happened to them? They have fallen off. After starting the season 3-0, they have only won 2 games. They've been 2-7 since. You know, I think next year they'll have a little rebound. I mean, Carson Wentz would have played a full season in the NFL. He would got the rhythm, got crap stuff patting down, maybe improve that offense, get some weapons at wide receiver here and there maybe. But, you know, I mean, all 4 teams in the East are positive net points. Dallas at 105, New York at 8, Washington at 8, and Philly at 23. So, I mean, they can score points. Oh, my goodness. So, the real question becomes, can Dallas run the table? Obviously, they play the Giants this weekend. Will they win 15 in a row? I'm pretty sure. I know. I've seen. The San Francisco. The team has won their first game but lost the rest. Lost 15 in a row. But Dallas, I mean, they have to start thinking. Well, they got a playoff spot. If they get the first round bye and home field advantage, the next question becomes, do we start resting players or not? Because you know you don't want Dak to get hurt, you don't want Ezekiel to get hurt. But I mean, if you start thinking that way, maybe they will get hurt. So, their remaining schedule looks like this. They're at New York. They host Tampa Bay. They host Detroit, and they're at Philadelphia. Now, Tampa Bay and Detroit, those might be a little scary because Tampa Bay is on the rise. It's not that I didn't have faith with Tampa Bay. You know, I only picked them to finish 4th in the South. Should really flip-flop them and the Panthers. But, I mean, I like Tampa Bay. They beat Kansas City at Kansas City. They beat Seattle at home. And you know what? They just might be the team to beat the Cowboys next week. But they got the Giants this week, so that the Detroit Boxing Day, December 26th, Monday night game, last Monday night game of the season, that I have a feeling is going to be a good one. And first and foremost, I'm going to say Cowboys are going to win that game because forget the Lions. And that Philly game at Philly, that might be where they have home field advantage. They're 14-1, and maybe just take a little break depending on what there is. Throw in Tony Romo and this and that. So I mean, you can't go wrong with a backup like Tony Romo.
Throwing on first down is Manning. Out on the right, this is Cruz.
Giants, they're just trying to stay alive in the playoff hopes and just get, make the playoffs. I mean, they just once they started the season 2-3. They didn't lose. They were on a 6-game win streak. They just lost to the Steelers, and they hadn't lost since October 9th against the Packers. Now they're hosting Dallas. They host Detroit. They're at Philly, and they're at Washington. I would say I think the Cowboys will get their redemption. I think they could take care of the Lions, put the Lions in their place. Philly, they're at Philly, I think.
So after that big play, let's see if they can catch their defense maybe on their
They can beat Philly again, and Washington might be playing spoiler. Washington played spoiler. They handed the Giants their first loss of the season, and I think they're going to hand them their last loss. And then Washington, on the other hand, they're at Philly. I think they can get the win over Philly. They host Carolina. They can beat Carolina. They're at Chicago. They can beat Chicago. And then they host the Giants. I think they can host them. So if they run the table, they be 10-5-1. And might be looking at the playoffs. But only time will
They'll
tell.
send Beckham alone to the left side.
Oh, we move on to the NFC West, where the Seattle Seahawks reign supreme at 8-3-1. The Arizona Cardinals are closing in at 5-6-1. But the Rams are a little more distant than that from Seattle at 4-8, and the San Francisco 49ers. What has happened to you? You're just what? Oh, let's see, Super Bowl 47. You're 4 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance, or 3 years from an NFC Championship game appearance. I mean, and also you started the season 1-0. The complete, you had a better record than the Dallas Cowboys this year, and you've lost 11 straight.
And we're back. The offense
And I mean,
we'll see what they come up with here on this next play.
Colin Kaepernick this past week was sacked more times than passing yards, or more attempts than passing yards. I forget. He only like 4 yards passing in 5 attempts or something like that. And it's like, wow. So it's sad and embarrassing.
And now inside the red zone, the offense will operate.
Ooh, the Giants are closing in. But looking at Seattle's remaining schedule, they're at Green Bay this week. Short week then, hosting Los Angeles. Then Christmas Eve, hosting Arizona. Then they're at San Francisco. And it looks like San Francisco is going to go 1-15. I wonder how often that has happened in the NFL. One team's 15-1 and the other one's 1-15. I know several years ago when Patriots went 16-0, Dolphins finished the season 1-15. They almost finished 0-16. They just got lucky in the end. Arizona, they're at Miami. They host New Orleans. They're at Seattle, and they're at Los Angeles. Now, okay, Seattle. That Green Bay game, they probably will win. But since it's me, I'm going to say no. They lose. They lose to Green Bay. They lose to Los Angeles as well. They lose to Arizona in regulation, but they beat San Francisco. So I'm saying they lose 3, so they're 8-6-1, and then win 1, so they're 9-6-1. That's how I'm saying how they finish. And is that enough to? Oh, Arizona can finish 9-6-1 as well, because they would beat Miami, beat New Orleans, beat Seattle, and beat Los Angeles. They win their last 4 games. Then it comes down divisional play. Oh, jeez. Seattle's 1-1-1. If they lose to those 2 and win 1, they'd be 2-2. 2-2-1. No, that's not 6. Oh, let me figure this out. 1-1-1, yeah, and they got 3 games left. Oh, that's they lose those 2 and win 1. Yeah, so it'd be 2-3-1. Okay, and Arizona wins. That they'd be 4-1-1. So Arizona could still win the West. But that's pushing it, I'd say. Arizona needs to win out, and Seattle needs to lose 3 of their next. Well, if they would lose at least their next 3 divisional games, their last 3 games, and Arizona wins all 4, it looks like Arizona could be in. But that's still asking a lot.
second quarter. Not sure how aggressively
Moving on
offensively
to the
they wanna
NFC
play
North.
I think we'll find out just how much
I
they
mean,
trust their
at the
guys
beginning of the
in this
season,
situation if they decide
who
to
would
take
have
a shot.
thought it would look like this? Detroit at 8-4 on a 4-game win streak, followed by Minnesota 6-6 on a 2-game losing streak, Green Bay 6-6 on a 2-game winning streak, and the Chicago Bears 3-9 on a 1-game win streak.
A first down throw for Prescott.
Not saying that's impressive, but
Now hold everything
out
here.
of, I mean, Minnesota, Green Bay, they're still fighting for a divisional championship. Detroit, they're trying to win their first divisional championship in 23 years. Last time they won the divisional title,
So the offense took
the North
timeout. Looks
did not
like they're
exist.
Ready to go as we get set to
Uh,
resume the action.
Bill Clinton was president, and Tom Brady was still in high school.
So the
Sounds
offense
about right.
readies for a 2nd and 4.
But Detroit, prior to last week, they trailed in the fourth quarter in every single game. 11 straight games they trailed in the fourth. It was finally their 12th game they didn't, and they took care of business. But they have a tough schedule ahead. They host Chicago, which would seem like an automatic win, but that's a divisional rivalry. Chicago beat them in Chicago earlier in the season, and Chicago wants to keep that in mind that they might not make the play. They will not make the playoffs, but they're not down out yet. This is almost a crucial or grueling back-to-back road games for Detroit. At New York, they take on the Giants, and they're at Dallas. And at Dallas is a Monday night game, last game of the season, like I said before. It's just, oof. And then they end the season on January 1st, hosting Green Bay. Green Bay and Detroit, it seems like they really like to play each other in the final game of the season. Or Thanksgiving, one of the two.
And a new set of downs
So,
here after picking up the first on the ground.
This will show how good are the Lions and if they're ready for the playoff push. Because they could still finish at 12-4. They win their last 4 games, win their last 8 games, and win.
Well, we're not playing 3 yards in a cloud of dust football anymore. I kind of get why those old school coaches sometimes didn't want to throw the football. Because if it's popped up in the air,
11 of their last 12 games. Yeah, that makes sense. After starting the season, they started the season with a win, then lost 3 in a row. Tennessee, Green Bay, Chicago. But then they beat Philly, LA, Washington, then they lost to Houston. But then they beat Minnesota before their bye. So, Minnesota's schedule real quick. They're at Jacksonville. That should almost be a win. But then they host Indianapolis. Indianapolis is better than Jacksonville. Then they're at Green Bay. Green Bay is ready to stay alive in the playoff hunt and looking to capitalize and take care of what they couldn't do week 2. And what happened to them last year at Lambeau. I mean, last year Green Bay lost all 3 home games against the divisional rivals. Road games.
Empty, so this is likely the last play in the second quarter.
Excuse me. And then Minnesota hosts Chicago, who they lost early in the season as well.
Final play of the half. Prescott is going to float this one deep right side. And
Oh my gosh.
touchdown Cowboys. Cole Beasley.
And then last but not least, the Green Bay Packers.
First half.
They
The
host
Cowboys
Seattle.
add on to their lead.
They host Seattle this weekend. They're at Chicago. They host Minnesota, and they're at Detroit. Now, this is how I would like things to happen.
Yeah,
And I
that's
would
something to
love
take in the
things to happen
lockers.
this way.
Little
First and
momentum to
foremost,
build on for sure.
Minnesota, they beat Jacksonville, but then lose their next 3 games. Indianapolis, Green Bay, Chicago. So that would make them 7-9 and out of the playoff hunt. I would like to see, I could see Detroit can beat Chicago, but then lose at New York, at Dallas, and hosting Green Bay. Lose Green Bay, and they finish 9-7. Minnesota 7-9, Detroit 9-7, and Green Bay runs the table. Green Bay finds a way to beat Seattle, and if not, they could still lose, be 6-7, but win their last 3 games at Chicago, at Minnesota, and at Detroit, and finish 9-7 and win the North, because the head-to-head tiebreaker over Detroit, which they would have beaten twice. I mean, in the last 3 years, 2013, 2014, and 2015, the division came down to the very last game of the season, and it was 3 years ago. It was Green Bay at Chicago, winner take all, NFC North champions. 2 years ago, it was Detroit at Green Bay. They were both in the playoffs. It was just determining who would get that first round bye and the second seed in the NFC. And Green Bay won. And then last year, yet again, Green Bay won four straight NFC North titles. It was Green Bay hosting Minnesota, where both teams were in the playoffs. It just determined who would be the, I think, 3rd seed and who would be the 5th seed. And Minnesota ended the Packers' division run. Minnesota won, ended the Packers' four divisional wins or whatever, divisional titles. Couldn't get 5. And Minnesota wins their first NFC North title since 2009. So I'm a believer, because of power positive thinking, anything's possible, and I still think Green Bay can win the North. I feel that Detroit can still stumble, and even if Detroit wins their next 3 games but lose to Green Bay, let's maybe get to the playoff. I'll get to the playoff picture in a little bit, because I still got to talk about the NFC South. We got 2 teams on top of the South right now. Atlanta and Tampa Bay are both 7-5. Right now, they split their games between each other, and Atlanta has a better divisional record at 3-1 compared to 2-1. And then you have New Orleans and Carolina. I mean, all 4 teams are still alive, but Carolina, they would have to win out. The best they can do is 3-3 in the division. Okay, I'm getting up all their schedules just to see who plays who and who has the best shot and what things look like. Oh, come on, I clicked on schedule.
Now 3rd down.
We just saw no example of how the defense is winning this game. Really at the point of attack, the offensive line is just getting pushed around. I think now as a play caller, you got to give them a little bit of help. Maybe keep your tight ends a little bit more. Maybe the running backs help you a little bit with the pass blocking.
New Orleans and Carolina, it's still possible. I mean, division-wise, it's possible that they all finish 3-3 within the division, and then they have to go like opponents or conference records. But Atlanta, their last 4 games look like this. At LA, that looks like a win. Hosting San Francisco, that looks like a win. At Carolina, I'll say Carolina gets the victory there. Excuse me. And then hosting New Orleans, I think that's a win. So that's 3 games. I say they win 3 and lose 1, so they'd be 10-6. Tampa Bay, on the other hand. Tampa Bay, I say they face New Orleans, they beat them. They're at Dallas, they lose at Dallas. They're at New Orleans, I say New Orleans gets a little revenge and wins that game. And they verse Carolina, I say Tampa Bay gets that win. So I say they get 2 and lose 2, so they beat 9-7. Saints, on the other hand, They're at Tampa Bay. I say they lose at Tampa Bay, but they win at home. They, so that's 2-2, or that's 1-1. So they'd be 6-8. At Arizona and Atlanta, I say they lose. So I think they're going to finish 6-10. While Carolina, on the other hand, it's San Diego game. You know what? I think they bounce back. They beat San Diego. I forget what I have in my official picks. I'll get that in a bit. I might change it, but I highly doubt it. But I think Carolina bounces back. They get the win at home. They're at Washington, and I say yes, they get the win there. Then they host Atlanta. And I said that they'd lose to Atlanta, or they beat Atlanta. So they're sitting at 7-8. They're at Tampa Bay. They lose 7-9. So how I'm going right now, I'm going to say Atlanta wins with a 10-6 record. And as a Packer fan, that's what I need. I need Atlanta to win the South outright. And I need Tampa Bay to stumble a little bit because they're still wild card spots.
Third down here for the offense after the incomplete pass.
So, speaking of playoffs, let's take a look at that real quick, and then I'll get to my picks.
And they'll let their fullback try and push the pile.
As at the moment,
Cross midfield for the first down to the 46.
Pretty sure that'd be. No, yeah, that's right. At the moment, New England has #1 seed overall in the AFC at 10-2. Kansas City now, with their victory tonight, moves into second place in the AFC at 10-3. Baltimore has a tiebreaker over Pittsburgh, be the AFC North champions. And Houston, with the best divisional record between the three teams, would be the AFC South champs at 6-6. But then you look at Oakland and Denver, they would be the first and second wild card at 10-3 and 8-4. Oakland would have to go to Houston, and Denver would have to go to Baltimore. But Miami, Pittsburgh, even Indianapolis, Buffalo, and Tennessee, they are all still alive for those 2 wild card spots. San Diego, no. Tennessee, and up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. 7 teams. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3.
That's a big time play by the defense.
Well, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 teams. 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 teams fighting for 5 spots. That either is divisional titles or the 2 wild cards. So 10 teams, 5 spots. 5 teams are going to be left out. And at the moment, I think those 5 teams are going to be Kansas City, Oakland, Denver, Houston, and Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's going to knock out Baltimore. Miami would have to get their act together. Indianapolis, I don't know. Tennessee, I really like Tennessee's push, but maybe next year. The NFC side, one spot's already gone, and that's the East. The East is taken care of. The AFC East isn't taken care of quite yet because of Miami still hanging on by a thread, but they lose and New England wins. New England is in with the East title. But Dallas is already in the NFC at 11-1. Seattle has the second seed at 8-3-1. Detroit is 8-4 and Atlanta 7-5. New York at 8-4 is the first wild card, and Tampa Bay is at the second wild card at 7-5. And so, since the East is taken care of, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And he's the epitome of what we call the move tight end. A guy
No.
that you can line up anywhere, in the slot,
See,
out
my
wide, in tight.
4 there.
Doesn't really matter because he has such great skills. You want to utilize.
I'm counting New Orleans out at 5 and 7. I mean, technically they can still. Well, no, I should include them because they can still win the South technically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll go with 10. We have the same thing. 10 teams fighting for 5 spots. I would rather see Arizona win the West. It's possible. Seattle needs a complete meltdown, and with Earl Thomas's broken leg, it's possible. I would like to see Green Bay win the North. Detroit can still have that meltdown too. But those 2 teams are crawling. New Orleans I included because they could still win the South at 9 and 7 if Atlanta has a complete meltdown and finishes 7 and 9. But at the moment, I do like Tampa Bay. I do like New York. I mean, I did pick the Giants and Cowboys to make the playoffs as
and the lead is up to 18 now.
East winners and first wild card or second wild card. I did have Seattle in there and Cardinals, so I mean that's still possible. And Panthers and Packers. Well, Panthers they're out. So, but with four weeks left. Week 14, 15, 16, 17. With 4 weeks left, it's gonna be teams are gonna be pushing for playoffs. And since we're all done with the byes, we have 16 games remaining in the last can't do quick math. We got 16 games and 4 times 4.
This is fielded at the goal line. And he's up past the 20,
I'm sure I could do simple math, but that's But anyways, we got 64 games left. Yeah, they're 32 plus 32. Yeah, they're simple math. But get to my picks in a little bit. Just gonna take a quick little break. Keep on watching right now. Dallas is getting their revenge over New York, 31-13, with 8:55 left in the third. So see how it turns out. Be right back.
Now a play fake here on first down. Hits his target, the tight end, Will Tye. Up there, 8 yards on the first down completion.
So much goes into a successful play, doesn't it? How about that play action there, freezing the defense just enough to bring the tight end free downfield for the completion.
They go play action for Jennings. Now Manning. He's going to go for a big play downfield. And a hit jarred it loose. It's incomplete.
On every offensive coordinator, every play caller sheet, they have about 5 or 6 plays per game that they call shot plays or big plays. And you don't get many opportunities to dial them up. And they just did. And they drop it with a great chance to make a big play. That's going to hurt.
On third and short, going with their tight end. And he gets it to the 34. Good enough for the first. It's a gain of 4 there, and it gives him a
Okay, and I'm back. Last week, week 13. I did okay. Went 9 and 6 compared to the 13.
So it'll be first down.
Yeah, 13 and 3 that I did 2 weeks prior. So I got 3. Well, there was 2 less games, or 1 less game last week. I got 3 wrong, whatever. But anyways, I mean, I got the Philly at Cincy game wrong. I really thought Philadelphia would win, but no, Cincinnati took care of them. I thought New Orleans would beat Detroit in the Bayou. Nope. Detroit just showed that they were the better team. I really thought Miami would make a game against Baltimore. No, they just got beat up. I thought Arizona was done and out this season, but no, Washington slips up and Arizona wins. Close game between Tampa Bay and San Diego. I wasn't a believer in Tampa Bay quite yet because they beat Kansas City and Seattle, but I thought San Diego would be the better team, but they only lost by 7. So I got that game wrong, and Carolina at Seattle. I just don't like Seattle. Plain and simple. I'll put it that way. So I went with Carolina. I thought that, you know, they were on a little bit of a roll, had momentum going, but nope. They just got their butts handed to them. So we got 16 games, like I said before. All the byes are done. Everyone has had their rest and relaxation. We move on to finish the last 64 games of the regular season. And it started with Thursday Night Football. Like I said earlier, we had Oakland at Kansas City. Kansas City ended up winning that game. I did pick Kansas City, and thankfully, yes, that's another. I've been on a hot streak as of late for Thursday night games. I mean, last time I got a Thursday game wrong was on Thanksgiving, but anyways, we had Oakland at Kansas City. Kansas City got that game, won by 8. 21-13. But anyways, Sunday action. We have Pittsburgh at Buffalo, Cincinnati at Cleveland, Chicago at Detroit, Denver at Tennessee, Houston at Indianapolis, Arizona at Miami, Washington at Philadelphia, San Diego at Carolina, Jacksonville hosting Minnesota. And in the late games, the 3 o'clock start time, we have the New York Jets at the San Francisco, Seattle at Green Bay, Atlanta at Los Angeles, New Orleans at Tampa Bay. Sunday Night Football, the New York Football Giants hosting the Dallas Cowboys, and the Monday night game, Monday Night Football, Baltimore at New England. So we have some good headliners, some good playoff intentions. Oh, that's, I don't think it's even a word. Implications, playoff implications. That's the word. That will determine if teams are in or teams are out. So, starting with Pittsburgh at Buffalo. This, like I said before, I think Pittsburgh is going to win the AFC North by looking at the rest of their schedule. They're at Buffalo. They have been pretty good against on the road this year. I think they might be 2-3 on the road actually. And I think they're 5-2 at home. They are, they're 3-3 on the road and 4-2 at home. Yes, that would make sense then. Buffalo, on the other hand, they are 3-2 at home and 3-4 on the road. So Buffalo has a winning record at home, and Pittsburgh is at tied. But I think if Pittsburgh wants to make a push for the playoffs, wants to win the AFC North, they want to show how good their triple threat is, they need to win this. I think they will. I do think Pittsburgh will take care of Buffalo, but I won't count the Bills out. It might come down to, say, a touchdown or so, onside kick for Buffalo, but I'm taking Pittsburgh in this one. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Do I have to say any more? Cleveland is 0-6 at home and 0-6 on the road. They are perfect. 0-6. 0-6. Cincinnati is 3-2-1 at home and 1-5 on the road. So something's going to give in this game.
And Gold is able to put it through, and that'll get the deficit
And you
down
know
to
what?
15. So
I
his third
don't
field goal
think
of the ball game
Cleveland
brings him a bit closer,
will
but there's no
go
question they need to start
winless
turning some of
this
these
year.
threes into sixes.
RG3 is back. Hugh Jackson is going up against his old team. Cincinnati does not have A.J. Green. I don't think they have Bernard either. They just came off a bye. They're well rested. They're ripping, raring, roaring to go. And you know what? You know what? I'm going to pick Cleveland this week. This might be my guaranteed wrong pick, but you know what? Cincinnati is beaten up, and this just might be the nail in the coffin for Marvin Lewis. Now, I don't think Marvin Lewis should get fired. I mean, you always have those bad seasons here and there, and you can always rebound. But you know what? When you've been to the playoffs, I swear, five years in a row, I'm almost certain on that one.
Dallas gets set to take the field, and they'll just simply be looking to build off the confidence of the last time out where they scored a touchdown.
Yes, Marvin Lewis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He hasn't had a losing season since 2010. He has had a winning season the last 5 years in the AFC. In the North, whatever, has had a winning record, has made the playoffs all 5 years, but has lost 5 years in a row. And this just might be, like I said, the final nail in the coffin. Surprise and surprise, he has 3 ties. Marvin Lewis is 115, 99, and 3. And that, if he loses to Cleveland, I mean, I'm sure he'll finish the season with Cincinnati, but that just might be it. And like I said, I'm going with Cleveland. I think Cleveland, if they get any win, they get RG3 back. They might just pull something out. And I said, okay, Detroit hosting Chicago. I mean, do I have to say more? Detroit needs to show why they're not a fluke this year. Detroit needs to show teams that they are for serious, they're for real, and that they mean business. And they not just need to beat Chicago this week, they need to destroy them, in my opinion. But you know what? They're going to struggle. I'm thinking of ways of old, like the last few years, where they struggle. But I'm going with Chicago this week. Divisional rivalry. Detroit, Matt Barkley, and the wide receivers, if they get on pace for the Bears, they just might be a good tandem. And, you know, I think Jake Cutler's time in Chicago is finally up. Why keep him? They really need to move on. I mean, Jay Cutler has been their quarterback since 2009. Sounds about right. And surprising he's lasted this long with Chicago. I mean, they won NFC North title with him. They made it to an NFC Championship game with him, but he hurt himself. And it's just surprised. It's been a while since the Bears have seen one quarterback survive this long in that position. But I think it's time for the Bears to move on from Jay Cutler and look to the future. And if they keep John Fox, they have to get rid of Cutler. And I say, hey, the Bears get a win this week. They beat Chicago, Bears beat Chicago. The Bears beat Detroit. Detroit starts thinking about what has happened to them the last few years, and they want to try and prevent that, but they have a tough schedule down the road. Chicago, at New York, at Dallas, Green Bay. So I wouldn't. To be honest, I think Detroit will win this game, but I'm going to go with Chicago. I'm going with Chicago in this game.
Again, we'll see the pistol
Denver at
here.
Tennessee. Here we go. If Tennessee wants to play with the big boys this year,
The give is to Elliott.
they need to beat Denver.
And he is gonna
And
lose
Tennessee,
yardage here.
I say in a year or two, they will be playing with the big boys.
And this situation,
It'll be like Oakland.
quarter,
They'll more or less have the defense. I'm not quite sure,
The defense has to know it as well. They've got
but they'll have the
six
offense
so
for
now
sure.
Tennessee
Um,
loading the box in a big way. 6, 7, 8, 9.
Denver.
Whatever it's going to take. There's a
Ooh,
little bit more
I know,
pressure
man.
on
I
the
looked at the wrong.
offensive line.
Denver's 4-2
Third and 11.
on the road, and Tennessee's 3-3 and 3-3. Tennessee has won 3 home games and lost 3 home games, and vice versa.
And he is into the end zone for a Cowboy touchdown. Terrence Williams, 46 yards. And the Cowboys will add on to the
And
lead.
Denver had a little issue last week against Jacksonville, but they bounced back and took care of them.
Is there bad blood that went into this one ahead of time?
But
Maybe they're seeking some revenge.
because
or they
where
just
was
don't
it?
like
Denver.
him. The
Denver
other
won
thing
by
that
10,
always hits
20 to
me
10
is,
over Jacksonville
are they
last
worried
week.
about playoff
Tennessee's coming
position?
off the
Are
bye.
they worried about,
I
do
mean,
you need
DeMarco
enough points
Murray,
in case
I
there's a
think,
tiebreaker
will
that
have
comes
a
into play
decent
later?
game,
Now Bailey to tack on the extra point.
but it's a tough one to say.
And he's been a busy man.
Oh yeah, there's a quick set going back to Detroit, Chicago game. Chicago's 0-6 on the road, and Detroit's 5-1 on the at home. So, but I gotta go with Denver. Denver's the better team at the moment, at least for this year. That's right. Denver did not have their starting quarterback. They went with Lynch instead of Simeon. Simeon, I think I saw, was practicing. So I mean, it's possible that he's back, but I think Denver with that defense, they'll bounce back and they'll still get the win over Tennessee. Houston at Indianapolis. I think. I mean, like I said,
Bailey now to kick it
Houston
away
just
after
came
the
off a loss
touchdown.
against Green Bay. Indianapolis,
This will be taken in at the
they
one.
just had a huge win over
That's a
the
pretty
New York
good return
Jets.
here as he'll get it up to the
And I
29-yard
mean,
line.
Houston was playing in the
Eli
elements.
Manning getting
They'll
ready
be
to
back
go
in a
again
dome
on
where they're
offense. And the passing
more or less
game,
comfortable
I mean, look at
with.
the numbers. It's fallen off. When a team is struggling, sometimes you look at a quarterback. When the quarterback starts to struggle, who goes over and picks him up?
Yeah, that's always a big one, isn't it? Usually,
Indianapolis
there's a quarterback
is the home
whisperer
team.
somewhere. And what I mean
They're
by
back at
that
home.
is,
They got
whether it's an assistant
they got
coach, whether it's
Andrew
one of his
Luck.
best friends on the
They are
team,
3-3 at home,
someone that can
but
get in
Houston
his
is
ear,
1-5
get
on the
with him,
road.
say, "All right, man,
So
what
this
do
is
you
where
need?
I'm
What's
leaning
going on
towards.
here?" So he's one
I'm
person he can lean
I'm
on.
leaning towards
Sounds like we got
Indianapolis.
that guy right now.
I think they got the momentum. They just came off a win. Houston is still kind of. But so I'm going with Indianapolis on this one. Indianapolis is the home team. In divisional games, I usually go with the home team. Not always, but usually. Unless I just hate the other team. And that is a bias pick sometimes. But Tennessee with the victory. Yeah, Tennessee. My bad. Indianapolis with the victory. Moving on, Arizona at Miami. At Miami. Miami just came off of a huge loss against Baltimore. This is a noon game. Arizona will be at least a 2-hour difference.
One receiver left, 3 to the right.
Miami is 5-1 at home, while Arizona is 1-4 on the road. So Miami is in favor there, and it all depends what type of Miami team is going to show up, vice versa to Arizona. I like Arizona, but not saying home field matters, but it kind of does. But I think I might lean towards Miami again. But you know what? No. How they play against Baltimore, that just tells me they're not in it to win it. In all honesty. So I gotta go with Arizona in that one. Moving on, Washington at Philly. This is another tough one. I think it's a tough one to pick, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good one to watch. Washington came off an awkward loss against Arizona, and Philly is on a 3-game losing streak. They are both still fighting for wild card spots. Washington, with their loss, they fell in the wild card because now that one loss hurts them, or that one tie, because they have the same number of losses as Tampa Bay at 5. And if you tie with losses, if you have a tie, you are less. But if you tie with wins, you get the kicker. But the game will be held at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is 4-1. Their only loss came a few weeks ago on Monday night against Green Bay. And Washington is 2-3-1 on the road. And I don't know. I think at the moment leaning towards Philadelphia because they're the home team. But as of late, they've been struggling to score points. And Washington has a lot to play for. And here, I mean, no, I'm sticking with my gut and sticking with Philadelphia. I'm going to stick with the home team. I'm going to stay with Philadelphia. Philadelphia takes care of the Eagles. Eagles take care of the Redskins. Give more headaches to the Redskins. Give them a big old throbbing pain in the head and be like, what do we do now? Because there's been rumors going around that Deshaun Jackson might be going back to Philly at the end of the season. They had a chance. They have a chance to make the playoffs. The playoffs are in their control. They have wins over Green Bay and others for that tiebreaker. And I just think that Philly gets a win. Philly bounces back. They finally break their 3-game losing streak and get back on track. Okay, moving on to San Diego at Carolina. It all depends what Carolina team's going to show up. They are the home team. It is a 1 o'clock Eastern time, noon game for me. And taking on San Diego, a West Coast team. When West Coast teams traditionally don't do so hot at noon games because it's a 3-hour difference. And it's a 3-hour difference. And it just, I don't know. To make that adjustment, oh my gosh. Eli. Yeah, no, to be honest, that wasn't man being man. That was Eli being Eli right there real quick. But going back to San Diego, Carolina. Carolina is 3-3 at home. San Diego is 2-4 on the road. So this could go either way. And I really like San Diego. I do feel like San Diego is one of those teams that's they just can't close out the victory. And you've seen that a lot this year, where they had a chance to either tie games or hang on to wins and just blow it. Like against Kansas City, against Oakland. I think New Orleans was another one. And that they just need to know how to close out the victories. And that next year the AFC West just might be a division you don't want to mess with. And that next year all four teams might have 10+ wins. It's possible. But I think Carolina's done. They need to shut everything down and reboot themselves. I'm going with San Diego. Even with the time difference, I think San Diego gets the win. Minnesota at Jacksonville.
as a play call.
I would really love to see Minnesota lose. I'll just put it that way. But if I have Detroit losing, Minnesota wins, they'd be a game behind each other. But Detroit beat Minnesota twice. Jacksonville is only 1-5 at home. They're 1-5 on the road too. So I mean, and they're currently on a 7-game losing streak. I almost think they're only their last win. I'll look at when their last win was. Oh, that was 7 weeks ago. No, really? What is Minnesota on the road? What is their record on the road? I mean, Minnesota. What's happened to them? They look like they were a juggernaut. That last week, the game between Dallas and them would be more on the line than was. It was a good game last week between Dallas and Minnesota, but it would have been more impressive if Minnesota was either still undefeated or one loss. But when they lose 6 of their last 7 games, Minnesota is 2-4 on the road. So there you go. That's one reason. Jacksonville.
The thing he said as they went back out there was, "Don't do that again." What do you think?
What do you think?
Last win was at Chicago, so I mean that was against an NFC opponent. But that was at Chicago, so they just might pull something off against Minnesota. I would love to see Jacksonville win, but you know what? I'm going to stick with Minnesota. Minnesota's still a pretty good team. It's hard for me to admit that, but they are still a pretty good team. Okay. So yeah, I'm going Minnesota. But I still think Detroit's going to lose. So they're going to be within a game of each other. Late games. The New York Jets at San Francisco. It's like, do we have to play this game? San Francisco's lost 11 straight games. They are 1-5 at home and 0-6 on the road. So thankfully they're playing at home because they have a better record at home than on the road. The New York Jets, on the other hand, they are 2-4 on the road. So they have a winning record on the road, and they are 1-5 at home. So that doesn't matter. They're 2-4.
Completed pass play. Now let's see if they go back to the air or to the ground.
They're 2-4.
3 of them to the right side.
I find it interesting that most teams have played 6 home games and 6 road games, and that they still have 2 home and 2 away. This is a tough one. Because if the Niners show up and play like crap, I mean, that's nothing new. But you know what? I think the Jets have nothing to play for. The 49ers got nothing to play for, but yet they still got to play the game. You know why? Because the worst team is going to get a better draft pick. And I don't see the Jets calling it in. The Niners, yes. Because, what was it? Kaepernick, he got pulled after having a... I got to look it up. I got to look up what his stat was.
It used to be when we were kids, about 3 different routes, and that was it. Now you can run anything and catch the balls.
Come on. I need to know what the stat was, and stats were Kaepernick in that last game against Chicago, where they just got humiliated. They played decently in the last few weeks, San Francisco, but
again, it's Manning. Oh, the ball comes out on the hit, but they'll say it's incomplete.
So Kaepernick.
We just saw another example of really good defensive
Oh,
which
come
has led to
on.
the cushion that they have in this game. Got to him once again, knocked him on the ground, forced an incompletion.
Kaepernick. That's receiving. Defense. Here's pass. Colin Kaepernick was 1 for 5. For 4, was sacked 5 times. He had a QB rating of 39.6, so he didn't even have a 0.
It's a 9-yard gain, and it keeps the drive moving.
Matt Barkley, he was 11 for 18, 192 yards. He was sacked once. No touchdowns, no interceptions. But, I mean, come on. So I have to go with the Jets in this one. I think the Jets will turn things around. They get the win. The Niners just look awful. I didn't think Chip Kelly would be this bad his first season. All honesty, yes, I do think he's going to get fired at the end of the season. Is he going to go back to the college ranks? Depends on that Houston job, I think. I think no. I think yes, Chip Kelly will get fired. He might go back to college, but I think, in all honesty, I would like to see him get one last chance. I mean, he was put on a crappy team. Let's be honest, the Niners suck. When he went to Philly, they were a halfway decent team. Never had a losing record there. But, you know, I thought Kaepernick would be a perfect fit for Kelly's system, but Kaepernick, he's not in shape and he's not as good when he was good. So, Jets, Jets beat the Niners. Okay, Seattle at Green Bay. The game that I'll be watching, the game that I'm going to be either pissed off or a game that I'll be just jumping up and down for joy. First and foremost, yes, I will pick Green Bay. I'm picking the Packers. Packers. I mean, at the beginning of the season, this was one of those games that, oh boy, NFC first or second place would be on the line, playoff potential, seedings and stuff like that. While one team is most likely going to be in the playoffs no matter what, while the other team is just still crawling and breathing on life support. Oh, the Giants got to go for it. And let's see, Seattle is 2-3-1 on the road, so that's a good thing for the Packers. Packers are 4-2 at home, so Packers have home field advantage. And you know, I believe in Aaron Rodgers that they can run the table. They were 4-6. Wow, they were 4-6. Dead in the water, but at the time Detroit was 6-4, and still on life support in the NFC North. There's still a chance. And I believe that chance. In all honesty, should the Packers make the playoffs? No, I don't think they should. I think they should be left out. They need to rebuild, rethink, and reorganize themselves. Wow, DJ. But I mean, every time I think that, they just find a way to win. There's still 4 games left. It's going to be a tough game, but yet maybe when I'm thinking that way, it's the other way around. It's like, what happened to the Seahawks? And are the Packers for real? That's the headline I'm hoping to see. The season is far from over, but this will be a fun game to watch. I mean, the Packers, they lost Mike Pennell due to another 4-game, I think, another 4-game suspension. I forget of what. I think it was PEDs, but I think it's time to get rid of him. Packers lost Nick Perry for a few weeks because of his hand injury. So, I mean, they got a mash unit on defense. But, hey, with the power of positive thinking, anything's possible. So, yes, I'm going with Green Bay. I got to go with Green Bay the rest of the way out. Moving on, Atlanta at Los Angeles. Rams at 4-8, and their headmaster, their supreme leader, Jeff Fisher was signed to a 2-year extension on his contract, and Everyone is a Rams fan or LA. We're just jumping for joy. Not really though. It's like Jeff Fisher's been a mediocre coach. Let's all be honest. He can get winning seasons here and there, but mainly subpar or medium. He's been to the Super Bowl once with the Titans, and who lost to the Rams. But now he's coaching the Rams, and everyone thinks he's his greatest thing on turf, but he really ain't.
One man on the backfield, Elliott.
The Rams are 1-4 at home, and Atlanta is 4-2 on the road. And you know what? I like Atlanta. What a surprise, right? The Falcons win and take control of the South for a moment, because next game is New Orleans at Tampa Bay. I really like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 2-4, 2-4 at home, and New Orleans is 2-3 on the road.
Second down, Prescott drops it underneath to Elliott.
I mean, Tampa Bay is 5-1 on the road. They're the road warriors this year. And that might be in their favor if they maybe want to get in the playoffs as a wild card team, so they can run the table on the road. But I think since Tampa Bay's home, they got a huge home win a few weeks ago.
So you're able to just get it to him easily, and once he gets in space, that's usually a good matchup for him.
They beat San Diego last week, yeah, by a touchdown. And it's these Buccaneers, I think, will get the win since they're the home team. That's who I'm picking. Okay, game of the week, Dallas at New York. At the moment, with 2:50 left in the game, Dallas is up 38-24. Oh, I gotta go with Dallas in this one. I think Dallas will win their 12th straight game. I think the Giants lose their second. They slip a little bit in the East, but they still control their own playoff destiny, playoff hopes. But I think Dallas just might run the table and go 15-1, if not 14-2. But once they hit the playoffs, Dallas should watch out for Tampa Bay. They should watch out for Atlanta. Those two teams I think scare me the most. Seattle, they don't. The real question is, how well will Dallas do in the postseason? That's a question to be asked a different time. But I will pick Dallas in that one. And then finally, Monday Night Football, New England hosting Baltimore. Baltimore has shown against Miami, but Miami's not New England. New England does not have Gronkowski. They were struggling a little bit against LA, but they took care of the Rams. And oh yes, Tom Brady. Oh, excuse me. Tom Brady is now the most winningest quarterback in NFL history with 201 wins. So congratulations to him. And you know what? New England ends up winning. It's Monday night. I'd be semi-impressive if Baltimore pull off the win. If Baltimore beats New England this Monday night, they will win the North. Otherwise, Pittsburgh, congratulations, you will be AFC North champions. But so those are my picks. I mean, right now overall, I have 109 correct out of a possible 190. So I'm still just barely over 50% accuracy. I mean, I'll take that.
Offense comes to the line now, 1st and 10.
109 divided by 190. That's I have a 57.37% accuracy. So hopefully I can improve that. Madden at the moment, you know,
one more chance to stop the clock here, and we'll be back.
They've gotten 8 out of 14 games correct.
All right, so the timeout over.
So they have a 14% accuracy, so it's there. See how accurate they are with this game. We have 51 seconds. not a minute 51 left in the fourth. Dallas up by 14. Ooh, 2 touchdowns, yeah. 14, yeah. 2, did math, yeah. And New York has to burn their timeouts. Where are they? The ball's at their own 48. Or Dallas is at the Giants 48. They get first down, game's over. All they got to do is take 3 straight knees and 1, 2, 3. Dallas has won 12 in a row. Oh, first down and more for Elliott. Oh, and he fumbles and the Giants recover it. Oh, my gosh. All he had to do was slide and game be over. Giants would call their last timeout. Oh, my gosh.
That's not necessarily true, is it?
Well, their hopes are slim, but you just hate to give
Yeah,
them.
that's a fumble.
Could have sealed it right there.
Yeah, could have finished them off and taken away all hope, as we like to say.
Now out come the Giants. Good drive.
Oh,
last
my
time.
God.
Really effective passing the football. Do you maybe mix it up, now go to the ground game and surprise the defense a little bit?
Oh, no, you don't go to the ground. What are these freaking
But I wouldn't necessarily just absolutely go in the opposite direction. They're doing so well throwing the ball.
Yeah, why
I wouldn't change it up until they showed me a reason to do so.
And on the outside, they're playing press coverage.
So, okay, they got to march 90 yards for a touchdown. Get the onside kick.
So the fumble recovery, and now Manning finding time.
Oh, wide open. Steps out of bounds. Smart.
It's a gain of 14 there, and that'll be good for a Giants.
So, Giants are moving the ball efficiently.
350 in this game. Pretty nice performance.
Definitely that, which usually means you're putting a lot of pressure on guys trying to cover. If you're a defensive back and they put over 350 yards on you, you've had a long day. The key to everything, if you're doing it without.
So what we got now? First and 10 at their own 24. Minute 39 left. Down by 2 scores. Eli takes snap. Plenty of time. Oh, he has plenty of time. Now he's. Oh, and he gets sacked. You can't. No, Eli, you can't. Now you got to hurry up. You can't take a sack like that.
In there to take him down, and the clock will roll.
Clock is running. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. is the. And there's the snap. Pressure again, and he throws the. Oh no, that's I don't even know. He steps out of bounds. 3rd and 11.
I know they don't like to hear it when they get to a certain age, but then you have to start to use your skills, your wiles, right? Your mind to beat guys to the football, and getting your toes tapped in bounds definitely qualifies as that.
So here we go, 3rd and 11 at the 23-yard line.
It's a 5-receiver set, 3 to the left, 2 to the right.
Eli takes a snap. Plenty of time. Oh.
They were trying to get it there to Sterling.
4th and 11. This is it. Game is on the line. They got to get the first down and more to stay alive. I mean, they got lucky with him fumbling the ball. Ezekiel Elliott fumbling it.
They're going for it. 3 receivers to the
But
left, 1 to the right.
they got to get to the 35. Throws it deep. Wide open. He's at 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Whoa. 7-yard touchdown pass. Eli DeLuce Jr. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. That's all I got to say. So now they got to go. They kick the extra point.
Where you are in terms of the scoreboard and the time left on the clock, as you noted, so many things to go through.
But they still need the onside kick.
And that'll cut the lead down now to a touchdown. 5 plays there on that drive. And the gadget play gets him into the end zone.
So with 1:04 left, they need to recover the onside kick. Here we go.
So with just over a minute to play, this becomes a make or break onside kick.
And Dallas recovers it, and that looks like that'll be the end of the game.
They felt like they needed the football back. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it.
And I know we brought analytics into the game, and someone has said here that the data says that when a team's expecting an onside kick, 80% of the time, the team expecting it, they do actually recover the ball, which is what we saw here. I just wonder if that number is much more of a anecdotal type of a number. Kind of like when the coaches tell us, well, when you score on special teams, 93% you win the game. I'm still waiting to see that number is empirical.
So Dallas just needs to kneel the ball 3 times, twice, 1, 2, and that's it.
The Cowboys on their way to victory as they take a knee. Now hang on here. Timeout called by the defense. That'll be their 3rd and final stoppage here as we step aside. And now following that timeout, the defense back out onto the field.
So yeah, two more kneel downs will do it for Dallas.
The Cowboys on their way to victory as they take a knee.
So the question becomes, will Madden improve again, keep their winning streak alive, keep on getting those W's correct? I'm not quite sure what game I might be doing next week. Gotta take a look at quick schedule here, but I'm sure there's some good games next week for week 15. Oh wow. Let's see. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Kansas City might be a good one. Atlanta, oh no, Denver, New England, San Diego, Oakland. That's Dallas. Oh, Dallas, Tampa Bay. That might be a good one too. That's a Sunday nighter next week. But I kind of like Denver, New England. Good old fashioned. But we'll see. See what I feel like next week. Here's some highlights. Oh yeah, the 1.5. Sheesh. I mean, New York had a chance. New York had a chance at the end, but shouldn't even pull within 7. So, but anyways, that's your final. Dallas 38, New York 31. Madden predicts that the Cowboys will improve to 12-1 and show their dominance in the NFC. So, thanks for watching. Tune in next week. And until then, see ya.